Hi, if you are following this tutorial is because you are making the pencil stubs blanket. This is my blanket so far. I'm on the third pencil. I am making the smallest version possible. That is exactly as the pattern writes. I have not decided to make these pencils longer, but it doesn't matter. What I'm going to do today is make the color reflections. That's 3 rows. The previous one, the white or gray color, and the next row, because they can be a little bit tricky, and it's always the same. I am using example of row 42 through 44. That is the first white line of the green pencil, but it's the same every time you make a row. You start on an even number row, then you have an odd number row, and an even number row, and you cut. So the first thing I want to tell you is try to make sure to have all your ends sewn in when you start, because you're going to have a lot of different tails and balls of yarn, and the less confusion the better. So I am going to start. I'm going to follow the same instructions as are in the pattern, but we're going to do it here so you can see. What have I got here? There we go. No. There we go. So I need to get closer. And I'm going to start row 42. A. It starts as usual with color 242, which is, for me, it's this dark gray. Front 1 and back 2. And then I'm going to make 3 in the back. And because I will be inserting a new color, I make 3 in the back without the chain 1. 1, 2, 3. I don't make the chain 1. Sorry, I had to cut there. I had made a mistake. So we have the 3 in the back. We do not chain. We send, will I find this yarn? Stuck here somewhere. We send it to the front. So that it doesn't stay in the back, right? Because if it stays in the back, it ends up sticking up there, sticking out there. So we send it towards us. And the chain 1, we make it with the white. Then we have white in the front. I make sure that I use the next stitch. And now I make 34 in the front. I'm going to fast forward because this is pretty standard. So there we are arriving. I just made 34 of the white 105 color, and I don't chain 1. 34. Send my yarn to the front, get some new yarn, 242, a different skein or bobbin or whatever, and chain 1 and go directly to the 7 in the back. So there I have it, and complete the row. I'll see you in the next row. I did row 42A, and now I'm going to start the B row, or row 42. That is still the first row of the light reflection. The thing to the B row is just straightforward as any B row, but the thing to pay attention to, and I'm going to do it here where I go from white to green. It starts with 3 in the back with white. There. And chain 1. Now I'm going to change to green. So I have this tail that I will not want it in the front of the blanket. So this tail I already sent to the back. Then I have the gray tail. But these two, no, this one it doesn't matter. We're going to sew it in a minute. But this one has to stay between the meshes, because I'm going to make the first green stitch and then we're going to go over that gray. The first green stitch. They're all in the front. Now I don't want to do the stitch here, leaving the tail all the way to the back, because I'm going to need this tail there. So the gray one is going to stay between those two. You see what I'm doing? I'm going to move my skate around. The gray one stays there, and I'm going to continue with all my stitches in the front. That's 2. I'll get back to this in a minute when we're done with part of the next row. And there you continue with all your front stitches. Oh, I forgot chain 1. And I'm going to fast forward until I'm done with the green. And let's see how it goes, because I have very little left and I may be playing yarn chicken with this bit. I'll see you at the end of the green. So I lost yarn chicken. I did 35. I have to do 36 green stitches. I did 35. Look where my magic knot is. I didn't have enough for a stitch, so I have to do the last stitch. That was 35 plus 136, but I was going to remind you that this white yarn does not go here. It goes there, so it stays between both meshes, and I make problem with these magic knots. They're not that magic now, are they? "36 stitches, chain 1, and cut the green." So I had to add about 5 centimeters of yarn. That was silly. And continue with the rest of the B row as you usually do, and I'll catch you at the start of the next row. So I'm finished with the first of the 3 rows, and just to get it out of the way temporarily, what I do with that tail is I just attach it there a little bit, just so that it's not hanging here, because there's going to be other stuff going on. And I noticed that when I turn my work around to make the second of the 3 rows, you see, when I joined the gray and the white, the gray stayed here. So I'm lucky that it's the end tail, so I can send it to the middle. It stays there in the middle between the meshes. As I promised, we're going to fix that in a minute. Where is my yarn? Sorry, there's a lot of yarn skeins here. So we're going to make row 43A, which is the one that has all the solids, and the solids are in one color and continue in the next without chain and without space. So we're going to be doing that. With dark gray, it starts with front 1, back 6, 5 in the front, then behind the pencil tip, and I'm going to stop when I get here to show you, so I'm going to do until here a little bit quicker. So this is my 13th in the back, and then I have 3 in the front, and you will see that the pattern is marked NC. That's no chain. That's NC, no chain. And I'll show you what I mean with that. So now I have to do, what did I do here? Oh, just what I needed. Send the tail to the front. I'm going to make 3 in the front, but I'm not going to finish the third one. 1, 2, and 3, and I'm not going to finish it. Then I'm going to get the next color, and finish it with a white. And you see, that's the stitch, the third stitch, which is going to look better once I pull that one in the back and sew it in. There is a chain space here, which is very little visible, and then there is a stitch. I will have to make now 69 in the front with white. The first stitch goes in the chain space. When I make the white, or eventually when you make the gray, it's the only time where you make solids where the odd number stitches fall on a chain space and the even number stitches fall on a stitch. So we did 3 with dark gray, we finished the third one with white, and without chaining we continue. One in the chain, like 2 in the stitch, 3 in the chain, 4 in the stitch. So we're going to continue like that, all the white, until we make 69 stitches in the front. I'm going to make most of them and I'll catch you at the end. Just as a tip, I like to count them in my head because sometimes I kind of wander off in my mind, and then if I am placing the even number stitches on a stitch, I know I'm correct, right? So that was 4, 5, 6. I'll catch you at the end of the white. So I am reaching, I did 65, 66, 67, 68 in the last white, and 69 will go in the chain space, and I will not finish it. Let's see, 69, I will not finish it. I will try to find wherever this gray is. I feel it, it's there somewhere. Here it is. There we have it. This white is from the B row, just to make it a little bit more confusing. So I didn't finish it, and I finish it with the dark gray, and without chaining I continue with 3DC solids in the front. Behind the camera there are so many balls of yarn all tangled together. 3 in the front, chain 1, and you finish the row with back to front 1 DC. Now, one thing I really recommend you to do, I don't know how picky you are, I'm very picky about this. I am very picky about sewing in ends in their same color and not in another color. So you have 2 ends that you need sewing in. One is the white one of the start, because it's in the middle, and when you continue making stitches it's impossible to get in there. So I'm just going to put it in there. And back. There we go. And the other, at the other end of the white, you have a gray one. Not that one, here it is. That one you also want to get rid of. There we go. Oops, make sure to cut the right one. Not the right timing to cut the wrong thread right here. So those 2 you want to get rid of. So I finished row 43A, which is the second row of the line. And I'm going to make 43B, which is nothing fancy until you're about to finish the pencil color. So I'm going to make it, you're also going to make it, make the white, the pencil, the wooden bit. You're going to start, where's my other green? You're going to start with a new green. It wasn't messy enough that we start a new color in the middle of this. And you're going to make in total 36 stitches here in the back, but I wrote them as 35 plus 1. I'll show you why. So I'll meet you almost at the end of this pencil. I thought I would remind you that as I go past the joining of gray and white from the A row, and I have the working yarn, I will leave it in the middle. I will not send it to the back of the blanket because then it gets caught. I will leave it in the middle for the first joint here. So I'm making the color 513, which is the light green. I started new. I made, it says 36, and in brackets I mark it 36 stitches, and I mark on purpose 35 plus 1 as a reminder, because I did 32, 33, 34, 35, and now I get the white yarn. Make sure not to get the white yarn of the B row, but the white yarn of the A row, and now yes, you send it to the back and leaving it in the window, you make your last green stitch. So you see that shows up in the back of the blanket because you're going to want it there in a minute. Then we get the other white that belongs to the B row, and we finish the row with back 2 and front 3. And now you're going to start cutting all the extra A yarn. I find a huge pleasure in when it says cut in the pattern. That's it. So you see how you have, where is it there? Joining the color for the light reflection. Now we're going to do the third and last row of this set. So as I said, for the last row, the third, in this example we're making row 44A. You're going to be cutting, so you start with 242, 1, back 1, front 1. My yarn is a mess. I should show you. Then 5 in the back. Five in the back, chain 1, and it does, well, I was going to say it doesn't matter where it says, but actually you cut that one. And now we're going to make, here's the white. Now, remember that the white, it was the stitches were, instead of the usual odd number stitches on the stitch below and even number in the spaces, in this case that white is the opposite. So now we're going to go to regular stitches in the front. So the first one goes in the second white, because you see the first white is in a chain space, the second white is in a stitch. So I want to put my stitches on the second, the fourth, the sixth, following the stitches, right? So this one is kind of wonky because it's there. Get a loop, chain 2, and there we have 1, 2, 3. What I really like, and it works perfectly with this yarn as well, things are framed. You see where the stitches are and where the chain spaces are? The stitch is usually very nicely framed in the window, and you can kind of see where you have to put it. Or maybe it's just a reaction after making millions of these stitches. So 105, we have to make 34 in the front. I'll meet you at the end of these 34. And I'm back. I made all the stitches in the front, almost all the stitches in the front. I'm supposed to make 34, but I made 33 to show you that the last stitch, 34, should go on the second white one, right? So that's 34. I do not chain the last one. I cut with pleasure. And the chain 1, I make it with the 242. Now, what you have to pay attention here are the distances, because you can chain here, right? Or you can chain down there. So what you want to do is chain a logic same height of the stitch. I kind of hold it there and chain 1 so that there is just the height of the stitch there. And you make 7 in the back. And that's what it looks like. The rest of the row is straightforward, and row 44B is also straightforward. So I'll leave you here. Thank you for joining me, and enjoy.